Next two gentlemen speaking, are anybody familiar with Anytime Fitness franchise? That is really, yeah, so there you go. Well, they are Club Operators of the Year. They have over 21, or they have 21 locations, Indiana and Ohio. They, as I talked to them, and I've worked with Mike on a few occasions, he's written some content for the magazine, and what they're talking about isn't just about running a successful business, it's their team, how to build a team, leadership, outreach into the community, what things bring breadth to a business and longevity to business. So I'm excited to hear Mike Gelfgot and John Spence. They'll be sharing a lot of great information. I was asking, I said, how long have they been partners, in the business? How long have you guys known each other? And they kind of looked at each other, they rolled their eyes, and they're like, just really long. So I'm sure they will finish each other's sentences, and they were bickering in the back about, what stats they were going to use and who was going to say what. But I'm excited to introduce Mike Gelfgot and John Spence.
No idea.
Yeah. That's great. It takes two. I didn't know that was going to be our intro music.
Great suggestion.
All right, just cool it just for a minute. So my name is John Spence, and there's a reason whenever Mike and I speak together at a conference, and there's a reason that I have to speak first. There's a reason that I have to do the introduction, because once we turn it loose to Mike Gelfgot, I probably won't get another chance to speak again today. So we know this, and this goes back to, I was talking to another Anytime Fitness franchisee about this. This goes back to an event in 2008. I was speaking at Club Industry. They used to have Club Industry in Chicago each year, and they used to have Club Industry out east one year, and it was in Orlando. And I'm doing a seminar on how to barter in your business, how to reduce expenses, and I've got a long list of things that we've traded for inside of our fitness centers, the way we've saved money. And Mike, he's attending the conference with me. He's sitting in the back, and I made a critical mistake. I stopped for a second. And I said, "Hey, Mike, what's your opinion on this particular thing?" And the next thing I know, I got about 30 people in the session, and I look around, and Mike is risen. He stood up, and every head in the room is now focused on him. And I'm looking at the back of everyone's head. I actually had to reel them back in and say, "Dude, teach your own seminar. This one is mine." So we've been doing this together for a long time. We've been running these Anytime Fitness clubs. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are and our background, not to impress upon you or to impress you, but to really kind of share with you where we're at with our business and our careers in the fitness business, because things are changing very, very rapidly for us. So we started together as Anytime Fitness franchisees back in 2003. We signed a franchise agreement in 2004. Some of you know who Anytime Fitness is. Just to give you a little light for those who don't, in the history of franchising, in all of franchising, we're talking McDonald's, we're talking Subway, we're talking Hampton Inns, we're talking the dry cleaning places and the oil change places. In the history of franchising, only 15 franchises have ever made it to 30 countries in the history of it. Think about that, right? Last year, Anytime Fitness, at the end of 2017, they made it into 31 countries, right? So they're the 16th franchise to ever make it to that level. And for Mike and I, so there's 4,000 locations worldwide. For Mike and I, we've won some stuff. We've been about the best franchisee that you can ever be in their system. The biggest award that they give away each year is their Anytime Fitness Operator of the Year. I won that in 2008. And at the time, by the way, they were telling us not to do personal training. Remember that? They were telling us, don't do personal training. They said most of your franchisees can't even figure out how to sell memberships. Don't do personal training. But then a few years later, in 2012, they actually started to have an award for Personal Trainer of the Year. And in 2012, the inaugural year that they gave that award away, Mike Gelfgot won that award. So they've only given that award away for about 6 years now. In addition to Mike Gelfgot winning it, out of all of the franchisees in the system, 4,000 clubs, for the next 5 years, two of the additional winners of that award are also guys on our team. So Anytime Fitness, 4,000 locations worldwide. only had 6 personal trainers of the year. 3 of them either are Mike or work for Mike. So we're good at this. We figured some stuff out. We've won, in addition to that, every award. But I'm telling you this because we got a problem. Like Mike and I, as good as we think we are and as good as other people have said that we are, we realized in the last couple of years, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, that the business was changing. So I've been doing this personally longer than Mike, about 20 years. Mike's a little bit younger than me. But we've been working together since 2000, and probably 2000 really, at a fitness center that someone else owned. And about 3 years ago, things really started rapidly change. We were talking earlier that the number of members in our industry is increasing every year, but it is underpacing the number of facilities opening every year, right? And we used to make a lot of our money based on membership alone. And then all of a sudden this thing happened where in our markets, boutiques were opening and then low-cost competitors were opening, and it was squeezing us from every direction. And there were Anytime Fitness operators for the first time that were really in trouble, right? And I'm telling you this as one of the top operators. Like, we had a real problem. We had clubs that, like, we used to go to conferences and people would tell us how their clubs weren't making any money, and we'd look at each other and we're like, how's that possible? This is so easy. Well, about 3 years ago, we had our first club that wasn't making any money, right? So we decided that we were going to embark on a journey and we were going to figure stuff out, that we couldn't depend on membership revenue to drive things anymore. And kicking and screaming, Mike drugged me on a what he called the Taste of Fitness experience. So we traveled all around and we visited all of these different fitness centers, and we started learning how can we do some different things to increase our revenue in different ways so we can be less dependent on membership. And that's really how we met Dan and Cody. One of the things that we were looking at was our clubs. We were asking ourselves, all right, we have this segment of people, and they're using pay-per-visit programs. They're coming in, and they're using our clubs, but we're not making any money off of them. Is there anybody else who's actually doing this really well? So Mike gets on the phone. If you guys are on social media, you're always seeing a million different gurus that are telling you they'll change your fitness business. Call me. I've got the solutions. I'll fix this for you. I'll fix this for you. So Mike spent 2 years calling every one of them. He did. And you know what he found? They don't have any solutions. But magically, there was a guy 3 hours away from us at Miracles Fitness in West Lafayette, Indiana, that was killing it, taking care of this exact segment of the population. So instead of us trying to reinvent the wheel, and I'm done doing that, by the way. People keep trying to tell me, you should do this with your business, you should do this with your business. I'm like, all right, show me your numbers. And if you don't have the numbers to back it up, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm only going to people from now on who can show me what's working, and then I can copy what they're working. Unfortunately, these guys are willing to do that. There was 3 things I wanted to share before I introduced Mike. And then, what do I know? That's the last thing. We're here, and there's such wonderful speakers with such wonderful resumes, and there are people who are experts in functional movement. There are people who have been doing this particular business a lot longer. The only thing I can really speak to is what it has been like for our experience with 21 locations where we're onboarding an ageless fitness program one after the other. And there are some problems, but there are some really cool things. And I'll be back up here in a bit, but Mike is going to start talking about some of the statistics behind why we made this decision.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Gelfgot. Give him a round of applause, by the way. He loves that.
Oh, man. This guy. Yeah, the ultimate question none of these gurus could answer, really what I was looking for is a very specific question. My question was, can you show me a play that you're running that works well with particularly a low-budget competitor in a town of less than 30,000 people? And no one had the solution to it, and I thought it was really, really interesting. And anyways, so that was the ultimate question that none of these gurus could answer. But let's talk about some interesting statistics. I think they're interesting and totally points us on why we chose to work with folks that are 55 and up. As you see, as of 2017, there were 60 million members of gyms, not just, I shouldn't say just gyms, but members of studios, boutiques, 60 million people that partook in some sort of a membership somewhere. as to echo what John was saying, the low-budget competitors, top left hand, if you see Planet Fitness, their total sales, membership sales, franchisee sales, equipment, whatever they sell, reached $2 billion in 2015. And that, I mean, they're just ramping up, and they're going to continue to open up more and more and more and more facilities, especially in small towns that we do work with or in. And if you take a look at this particular statistic here, the one where it says 18.2%, those are the studios, right? So from 2015 to 2016, health club members by segment, meaning how many people were members of a studio compared to 2015 to 2016, it went up. So we have more and more people joining studios and boutiques. We have more and more people joining low-budget competitors, and we're right in the middle. We're offering memberships for $30 to $40 a month with personal training, right? So the ultimate question, well, I guess let me show you a few more statistics to back up why we decided to do what we want to do. So check this out. So as of 2012, and this is what I'm looking at right here, folks that are 55 and up, almost every single year, and folks that are 65 and up, continue to join traditional gyms like our gym. In other words, they are coming back to our facilities and they want to work on the treadmills, they want to work on machines, they're coming back. We're seeing these people come into traditional a facility like ours. That's a very big incentive for us to figure something out on what to do with these individuals. What I was going to say earlier before the slide is, the ultimate question that John and I were talking about was, okay, what is the lowest bearing fruit right now that's in our business that we're just too darn blind? Like we're just involved in the weeds too much and we're just not seeing what is the most obvious thing. And what we noticed were a lot of these people that were 55 and up were joining our gyms and we weren't doing anything with them. Our programming and everything that we do and all the marketing that we do is based on for folks that are 25 roughly and 45. We were doing nothing special other than offer people a silver sneakers session to come in and join the facility. And we all know that's not the most effective way to exercise with people. So that's when because things kind of started churning, we started looking at some statistics, getting squeezed from the bottom, from the top. Here's an interesting number that as I was reading, by the way, all of this comes from 2017 IRSA Consumer Report, which you guys can purchase. Folks that are 55 and up, they visit your club a lot more frequently than any other population. And they stay with you longer than any other population, right? So for health club guys, that's wonderful, right? Because we will continue to renew their membership. Hopefully they continue to refer their friends. We have to focus on this particular age group, and it's completely ignored according to all IRSA statistics, meaning by traditional gyms like us. I thought this one was interesting. Members of more than one club. Check it out. People that are 55 and up, they don't really join any other club other than yours, other than ours, because they're coming back to traditional gyms, right? They stay at that one facility, and they want to, of course, we all want to progress. We all want to see change. So as guys that operate a bunch of gyms, to us, this is one of the biggest competitive advantages that we would have over, say, a low-budget club. And really, a lot of the boutiques, you guys are atypical. You guys get it. Most boutiques don't get it. That's why you guys are here and listening to Dan and Cody and the rest of these individuals speak. So all the statistics point in the right direction. And if I were to summarize 3 reasons why we decided to work with this population, it'd be 1, since 2002, more and more folks are joining the facility. 2, folks that are 55 up use your club most and they stay the longest. And 3, they don't really join any other facilities. I don't believe I need to say anything else. And by the way, what's interesting about all of this is that Dan, when we first met Dan, he told us all of this, and I heard it, but I didn't really hear it, and then seeing it playing out in our clubs, and then seeing these statistics match up with what Dan was saying, it's pretty cool. So John?
Thank you, sir. So we're in the process of changing our business model for focusing on an older clientele. Might hit some of the key reasons why we're doing that. They'll stay with you longer. They're only going to join your club. They're going to refer friends. But why are we doing this? And what's really happening with the rest of our business? It really gives us the ability to grow our program again. So as a guy who's been running 21 facilities and growing them over time for the last 15 years in Anytime Fitness, here's what we found. This is what's happening with the retention of our members and our personal training clients, focusing on a traditional group of people. So every time we open a club, we do really, really well for the first 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and we get to a point, we hit this plateau, and then we hit this equilibrium point where attrition equals retention. And it's very, very frustrating, and if you're a really good operator, here's what happens. You ramp up like this, and then there's always a dip 3 years in, and then if you're good, you can continue to grow it, but then market conditions change, and there's a new competitor, and it gets harder, and as fast as you're pouring water into that bucket, it's coming out. Something I learned that's very interesting about working with this group of people is this. This is what's happened with our Ageless fitness program since we've implemented it, right? We were talking about it the other day at lunch, yesterday at lunch. Since we've been running this program, and now we're up to 10 clubs out of our 21, 6 or 7 of them are doing well with it, we can count on one hand, actually on 2 fingers, the number of people that we've lost that have enrolled in our Ageless fitness program. So once again now, you can count on retention, and people are going to stay with us. It doesn't matter how much water you're pouring into that bucket if it's full of shotgun pellets, right? But here, we were talking, one guy we lost because he's got cancer, and he's going through treatment, and he may be back, right? And then another gal we've lost, and we're talking, dozens and dozens of people, maybe over all of our clubs, and we can pinpoint the exact 2. And the other lady left us because it's summertime and she spends a lot of time in her garden. She's not sure if she's going to have time to come into her club to do her workouts. But she's outside, she's getting exercise. What do you think is going to happen when the weather changes? She'll be back. Right? So it really gives us the opportunity, and this is actually the thing that excites me the most, because I'm a business guy, I've been doing this for a long time. It's really important that we have a profit motive in everything that we do. I preach that constantly. But I chose this business for a certain reason, and that's because I have the opportunity to change people's lives in this business. And I really believe that with all of my heart. We have a set of core values, and one of them is, can we change lives? So the people that we're typically working with, our typical group of people, are these 2 people right here, this guy and this gal, right? Those are our average member. And I'm going to ask you this, and I don't want to sound like I'm not sensitive to the struggles that they go through. And many of you are in this demographic, right? But if I help her lose 30 pounds, like average member comes into our club, maybe weighs 170, wants to get back down to 130 pounds, something like that. If I help her lose that weight, what have I really changed about her life? Now, I don't want to discount she feels better about herself. I don't want to discount that when she goes to the 20-year class reunion that she's going to light it up and she's going to feel awesome, she's going to look great. I don't want to discount that stuff at all. I don't want to discount that she's going to feel more attractive for her spouse. That's all very, very important. But could she clean her house before? Could she clean it now? Could she go hiking before? Could she go hiking now? Right? See where I'm going. What have I changed for these people's lives? Right? I'm going to tell you a story about my aunt and uncle who are very successful in business. My Uncle Dale, my Aunt Barb, and you don't know them, so I'll share you their story. I'm sure they wouldn't want me telling it quite like this, but it is a learning tool, so there's that. So Barb has spent the last 40 years of her life working at a hospital in Minnesota. And she worked her way up. She never had another job. She went to nursing school at this hospital, and she worked her way up, and she became in charge of all of the nursing program for this entire hospital over 45 years. She just retired 2 months ago. She's about 150 pounds overweight, right? Blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. And I was having lunch with her and her husband. They came down for a charity event that I put on just a couple of weeks ago. And let me tell you about Dale. Dale owned a sod farm in rural Minnesota and worked his butt off for 35 years, right? Just sold all of his equipment. They retired, just sold all of his equipment. And made a few $100,000s on the sale of his equipment, and he's put all this money away. And now they're in this wonderful situation where they have put aside all of this money. And the conversation we had, they were telling me about building their new house. Now they're both, Barb is 65, Dale is 63. And the conversation went like this. Well, I work with someone who's a gerontologist at the hospital, and what they were telling me was that as we design our new home, if we design it on one level, we do walk-in tubs, we put in grab bars, we can actually probably stay in that house another 10 years before we have to look to assisted living facilities. They've spent their entire life putting themselves in a situation where now they control their finances and now they control their time, and what's important to them is they're designing their home so that they can stay there when they're unfit. I was like, that's great, but have you thought about exercise? Like, what would really help? What was the gentleman's name that was speaking a little bit earlier that was juggling for us? Stephen. So think about Stephen. Do you think Stephen is looking for a house with grab bars, one level, and a walk-in tub? I had a lady, not long after we started working with this group, I had a lady that came running up to me one day and told me how excited that she was that she could vacuum her house again. What have we changed for her life? Right? We had another lady tell us, she thanked us because she could scrub her floor again. She said, what I used to do is I used to wet the towels, used to drop them on the floor, and I used to do this, right? She takes pride in having a clean house. Now she's able to get on her hands and knees and actually scrub her floor. Could my lady in her 40s that's 30 pounds overweight, could she scrub her floor before? Can she scrub it now? But what have I changed about this person's life? Here's Elmo. Elmo is one of our clients at Piqua, Ohio. The first day he came into the club, he had to use a walker. I want you to talk a little bit more about Elmo. Not now. Hold your horses.
I'm doing really good.
He sent this picture, by the way, to Jacob, the trainer that was working with him, the coach that was working with him at Piqua. The first day he came into the club, he was actually coming in a walker, right? And their goal was to get him in shape so that when they take their snowbird trip every year to Arizona, they could dance together. He only did 6 weeks of Ageless fitness training with us, and the day that he left, he walked out, got into his car, no walker. A couple months later, they sent Jacob the picture of them dancing down in Arizona. Now I'm going to ask you again, what have we changed for their life? It's so powerful. Before I get to the next slide, a lot of you know this. So many people in the room know way more than I do about working with this population. But the number 1, 2, and 3 fears for people over the age of 65, according to AARP in the United States. All of a sudden, I'm reading AARP, right? The top 3 fears in America for retired people are, number 3 is, I might lose my physical health, okay? Hey, what's the solution for that one? Goes without saying, exercise, right? Number 2, anybody know what number 2 is? It's losing my mental health, right? There's one that's bigger than that. I'm curious to know if you know what that one is. And there's a lot of studies on this one, but this is according to a study that AARP did in 2010. Number 2 is mental health. And everybody in this room knows all of the data shows what? That if you exercise, it's going to improve your mental health. And there are some really interesting ways to fine-tune your exercise so you can get more out of that. And the number 1 fear for retired people in the United States, running out of money. Think about that. They would actually rather be brainless, in a coma, than run out of money. But if you know this, the top expense for people in the United States between retirement and death is non-reimbursable healthcare expenses. And the most recent stat I saw was $275,000 a year, or $275,000 over that period of non-reimbursable medical expenses. What do you think the top way to reduce those medical expenses are? All right, so think about this. The top 3 fears that retired people have, this is why it's so easy to sell this program. because they're going to spend the money. The question is, are they going to spend the money in a way that enhances their life, or are they going to spend the money in a way that just keeps them on life support until they ultimately do die and hit that morbidity period? A couple other things I like about them before I turn it back over to Mike. They show up for appointments. I love old school people that when they set a time with you, they actually arrive on time. And they come. And they don't send you a text or a Facebook message later telling you how they got hung up, right? They pay their bills on time. Like, we're talking about a group of people that if they sign their name on the dotted line, it means something to them, right? We haven't had any defaults that I'm aware of with our Ageless Fitness group. They refer their friends. It's a very social thing. They have money. You know, we talk about this all the time. And there's a lot of different ways to look at this demographic, but we all know this. I mean, many people have cited this statistic over the weekend. I probably should have spoken first so nobody stole my thunder. But the truth is, retired people in the United States, and there's 10,000 people every day that turn 65, but retired people in the United States people over 65 only comprise 25% of the population, but they control over 75% of all the wealth in America. And it's really interesting to me when one of my personal trainers says, why are we focusing on these people that don't have any money? And finally, no one is marketing to this group. We've talked about this over and over again. You can actually get better pay-per-click rates when you use keywords associated with this group than typical fitness words. It's pretty amazing. So all of a sudden, the return on investment is back in advertising to where it was when Mike and I were running our clubs without all of this interference 10 years ago. And they're extremely loyal. I think the next slide is you, buddy.
Yep. I want to talk about, and whether this applies, whether you're a studio or if you have a gym that's not an obviously at any time gym. How do we implement this thing? So there's a couple of things that were important to us. Scaling, no matter what we do, is critical. You know, if we just had one facility, oh my gosh, it would be the coolest, baddest facility but I would have a hard time replicating that. And in fact, every time we try to replicate it, it's very, very challenging. So you got to keep that in mind no matter what you do. For what we did is we have to scale. So what was I keeping in mind when it comes to scaling? Our sales process is the same at all of our 21 locations. So with Dan's help, we tweaked it just a bit. We kept it about 96% the same. There's a 4% tweak in Ageless Fitness sales process, and Dan helped us quite a bit with that. All evaluations are standard across all clubs. There's not like one trainer that does one set of evaluations and another trainer does a different set of evaluations. All evaluations, everything we do is the same. All the trainers, because that way I can take a look at any one of our clients' folders and figure out what's the deal. It'll be easier for me to troubleshoot and figure out whether or not are we helping this particular client progress. So if you have multiple trainers, and I realize that once again, if you had one club, you can do 5-7 different evaluations per trainer, 25 different evals. But when you have 21 locations and you're working with this army of 100+ people, you got to make sure that it's standard and you are operating properly. 4, all workout programming comes from one central source. So the way that we scale this thing is we mimicked to an extent what we're already doing with our regular programming. Right, so we have one guy that programs all workouts, and the only thing that the trainers do is they interpret what are you, a level 1, level 2, level 3 client? How do you fit into the current system based on the way that you are, based on your fitness assessments? And we use the standardized fitness manual. We do all the 6 screenings based on that, based on the manual to figure out what are you, level 1, level 2, level 3. We've had Ageless Fitness now for roughly 12 months. We onboard about 1 or 2 clubs per month, and it's for a reason, right? So we can actually support them and make sure that they are doing what they're and learning the mistakes. If you fire a cannonball, all at 21 locations, you are asking for a sleepless nights. But if you do it one to 2 clubs at a time, you get a chance to learn a lot of mistakes and improve upon them as you onboard more clubs. And the best thing I think that we've done is, and Doug is here with us, is we appointed one individual other than me to focus on the program because, like John was saying, currently we have it running about 10 clubs, actually in exactly 10 clubs. 6 out of 10 are doing really well. The other 4 are not. Why? Because I'm not able to focus and help these individuals. There are other things that we're focusing on within our facility, not just the Ageless fitness programming. So, but with one guy now in charge of the program, I believe that the next 12 months are very bright for us. So what are some of our results and what are some of our lessons? Currently, we're billing about 12.6. Nothing too impressive, but remember the renewal percentage with these people has been 99%. So that's very, very encouraging. We can continue to build upon that. Pricing. We don't really care what we charged up front. It doesn't matter. There's a critical mass, and that critical mass is 15 to 20 clients. Once you get to that point, as Doug told me, the whole animal becomes, I guess, a beast of its own, if that makes sense. But here's the pricing. So 1 to 20 clients, here's what we did. $99 a month. For twice a week program, or $129 for a 3 times a week program, and then we scaled it up. So we have one club right now that's in phase 2. Majority of the clubs are in phase 1, but coming up to phase 2, and that's the pricing, right? Because the whole point is we got to get to that 15 to 20 mark per club. Right, as people come in to check out the facility and they're interested in doing Ageless fitness programming, nothing worse than having an empty session for clients if you want to speak to that.
Actually, we emailed all of the club managers that we have, our PT managers that we had for all of these clubs, and said, they've asked us to talk, and I really don't, I don't have a ton of stuff to offer other than the experience that we've gone through. And here's what we found rolling this out in 10 clubs so far. The first 10 clients are like gold, right? When you launch the program and you have no program and people want to come in, they want to see people who look like them, who are dealing with the same thing as they deal with, and they walk through your doors and there's just a bunch of young people working out in your clubs, people like the people I showed the pictures of before, they don't feel comfortable, right? But then one of the things that's really encouraging is when we hit about 15 to 20, we went from 15 to 20 clients at one club to 30, how many clients do you have? 34 clients.
34, yeah.
Like that. It happened. I'm watching the numbers every week. And then at one club, all of a sudden we jump from 20 to 34, like that.
And that's critical. No matter where you're starting, you gotta get, because you can always increase your rates, right, for the new clients that are coming in. By the way, that's been our philosophy really since day one when we started personal training. As the years went on, we slowly increased our rates. We grandfathered the old clients in. The way that we're running the program is there's 6 people in a session, and currently what we're paying out is $3 a head. So the trainer that's coaching the session, let me backtrack. We're paying out $3 a head at phase 2. On phase 1, there's just not enough money really to pay that. So what we do is we pay the trainer whatever their one-on-one rate is for that 30-minute session. And that's what they get paid. In phase 2, it's $3 a head, and it'll stay that way as we increase rates, because I think making $18 for half an hour for a trainer is pretty darn good money. On top of that, remember they get, well, you don't know, but they get base pay, they get bonuses as well. Okay. The goal is by the end of August to have all clubs onboarded, and this is real rough estimates as far as profit margin goes. If I just take a look at total cash minus payroll, we're running about 76%, and that's pretty darn good for the program. Okay? Our biggest challenge has been our pay-per-visits to convert those people to actual paying clients, because they think that Silver Sneakers pays for all the restaurants that they visit outside of Anytime Fitness as well. It's not the way that works. Silver Sneakers just gives you access to the facility, so we've had a tough time with that. But we're working through it. But that's been the biggest obstacle for us. And I can tell you the 3 most effective ways that we've been able to figure out to market the program to this day are referrals, Facebook, and getting out in the community. This is a picture of, there's a couple of pictures of our club in Lebanon, Ohio, which is where Doug works at. That's where our most successful program is right now. This is actually towards the back of the club, and that's where we do all of our Ageless fitness training and all of our group and small group training as well. Okay. We are about 15 minutes above schedule, which is amazing for the two of us.
Shocking.
I know. So that gives us some time for Q&A if anyone has any. Yes, you in the black. Come on up.
So I have two questions.
Yes,
First of
ma'am.
all, are you guys okay with sharing what your programming model is and
Sure.
how you're achieving it? And then, I know you, and what advice would you give as business guys?
Okay.
Having a whole bunch of to a single person running a studio, no franchise, no support, no nothing like that.
Sure. So the first question is, when you're saying programming, you're asking exercise programming. Am I correct? Okay. And then two, advice as far as business. So John, you can do number two. I'll do number one. So as far as programming-wise, we already have a very solid program that we're currently working off of, right? And the way that we qualify that program is you come into our facility, I take you through a functional movement screening, and essentially I identify you. Are you a stability, strength, or power level client based on your postural deviations? And then based on that, then we know what not to do, which is the most important thing, and we program your workouts from there on. So Ageless Fitness is literally the exact same thing, right, except we're just doing different evaluations with the individual. So the way that I know, like if you walk into our facility, how would I know whether or not you are an Ageless Fitness candidate or you are say a regular programming candidate? Are you hitting the ceilings on my Ageless Fitness tech? Because if you are, then you're not a candidate per se for the most part for that particular program. Then we do our normal functional movement screening, and that's how we categorize you in one program or the next. Right? So once we identify whether you are once we identify whether you're level 1, level 2, level 3 as far as Ageless fitness goes, then there are exercises that we put together that essentially regress from our regular programming, but stay very true to what Dan and Cody talk about as far as their 7 principles for functional aging specialists. It's a very broad, I guess, answer, but I can show you. So we have one guy, right, that puts it all together. That's right. And then once he puts it all together, he emails out to all of our trainers. Right? The only thing that trainers do, which I love it, they just interpret data. That's all they do. You come in, they screen you, they identify you. What are you? And what's that? No, I mean they use common sense, right, for sure. But no, for the most part, yes, they stick to the programming. They stick to what the deal is. That's right.
You might look at that and go, well, the workout isn't appropriate for everybody of all fitness levels, and every exercise is going to have a progression or a regression. So we can work out with a variety of different fitness levels, and it's built right into it.
On the actual workout sheet, say if you're a level 2 client, I have regressions to level 2 exercising, or I have progressions, and there's 6 different movement patterns that are on the workout program. So if you might do really well with a hip dominant exercise, but really weak in a horizontal pulling, so that I can modify you based on, I can give you a level 2 for horizontal pull, level 3 for knee dominant exercise, but it's all right there on the worksheet. It sounds more complicated than it actually is. It's actually pretty simple. But that's right, and it's like, so therefore I can on the spot figure out what I need to do, but I have to know initially how to categorize you and put you in my system. Yeah. Sorry.
What I love about it is it allows us to go into any of the locations and see the workouts taking place and know what they're supposed to look like. Before we had a system in place like this, when we had 20 locations and we've got one-on-one trainers doing their own thing, this is how we program not just Ageless Fitness, but our entire business now. I can go and do a session on Monday at one club, and I can go do the same session on Wednesday at a different club. Even though there's progressions and regressions, the workouts refresh every week, so every week there's different exercises. But I can tell the difference, and I can tell how that coach is performing. And now it just becomes about, can they motivate people? Can they correct form? And they don't have to spend all their time writing up workouts anymore. Your second question was support. right? Well, I'm here to tell you that my franchise office is waiting for us to innovate this program, you know? And that's the way that it's always been. And you're already doing what I'm going to suggest next, which is surround yourself by people who are already doing the things that you want to do. I have learned, so I've been an Anytime Fitness franchisee since 2003, and without question, I have learned more from my other Anytime Fitness franchisees than I've ever learned from my franchise office. And frequently, they're not my corporate people in the room. Well, sort of.
As an FAC member, you got to be careful what you say.
Jeff O'Meara, distinguished Jeff O'Meara, is a member of our Franchise Advisory Council. So he's kind of like this go-between between franchisees and corporate. But he'll be
he's a snitch.
First to tell you. He's no snitch. He's no snitch. He'll be the first to tell you that sometimes even our corporate office puts the reins on us and tries to pull us back. But, you know, first of all, I'm an innovator. Second, I'm an Anytime Fitness franchisee, you know. And I come to conferences like this, and people think I'm of a different ilk than they are. You know, that, he's running a traditional fitness center. Our whole business is changing. I'm becoming more like you every day, and I'm not encouraging you to become more like me. This membership model that we have, it's a failing model long term, right? It used to be that all of our business came from, you know, the same filter, right? You join the club, we set you up with a personal training manager, and the personal training manager takes you through a couple of workouts and sells you personal training. If we're not going out and we're selling people directly personal training, we're gonna fail. We cannot wait for people to come through that filter of joining a club and becoming members anymore. So we're becoming a lot more like studio operators than we've ever been, and that's really the key to the future.
Yeah.
Yes, you in the red. You got to come up and talk to the microphone. So
Barry Jackson.
Hear you and see you.
Do the walk. So Barry Jackson used to be a professional volleyball player and a model.
Shut your face. So I have a question for you. You showed the model or the screen with the tenure, the term.
Yes.
Was that in months, and was that just
Years.
based on 2017's numbers from Ursa?
Those are 2016 numbers, and that's in years, not in months.
So my question would be, what did you guys do with that as far as an offering when we typically are like a 12-month model? Did you deviate from that for those?
I mean, we're not. My point in showing those graphs is just to say the folks that are 55 and up, they're joining our facility, and we need to get on board and provide proper programming. That's really all it is. And my point is, they're going to join your facility, they're going to stay in your facility, they're going to stay for a long, long time.
Well, no, my question was, I saw the tenure was, I assume 7 months. So is that what you guys offer as far as agreements, your agreement term for these Ageless Fitness?
12 months.
12 months.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's still, you only lost 2 people of 12-month agreements.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so originally when we consulted with Dan, it was as you guys are all doing the same 7 to 11 month programs, right? That was the deal, and we did that, and that was good. I'm gonna say this: we outsell our problems, if that makes sense. Like we do a really good job in executing at point of sale. Like that's one thing that's probably our biggest strength as an organization. So with that said, like we just don't have any challenges in selling 12-month programs to anyone, right? So 7 to 11, I'm talking to my sales guys, and it's like, guys, Mike, I don't even know if I need to offer a 7-month option. Like, all right, well, sounds good. Let's not offer a 7-month option. Let's just do a 12-month option. It hasn't been an issue, right? We're selling 12-month programs all the time. That's also, by the way, it might be a weakness of ours too, is our biggest strength. Yes.
You briefly mentioned silver sneakers.
Yes.
And I personally am at a UFit, 2 YMCAs, and a Planet Fitness. I'm 71, so I've got this. And the Y gives everything for just walk in the door. You can go to yoga, you can, whatever classes they're teaching, you got. And how do you compete with that? I mean, these are within 10 minutes of my house.
Sure.
How does a small...
You're opening Pandora's box right now.
I can't wait.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
No, this is great. This is where Mike hits his stride. Go ahead.
So, here's what I would say. There is a difference between a class and a session. And here's the difference. Any one of us can take a class right now, right? All I need to say, all right, get up, here's the 3 things we're going to do, and we're going to do it, and that's it. There's a challenge with classes. It's not individualized or customized to you, right? So my point is this. If you pull up your car to a mechanic, and I use this analogy all the time, and he comes out with a screwdriver and a hammer, and he says, I think I'm ready to fix your car. What are you going to do? Exactly. You walk into a doctor's office, he comes in with a scalpel and Tylenol and says, I think I'm ready. For what? Does that make sense? So when members walk into a facility and there isn't any sort of screening that's done to tell you what not to do, there's a high chances of 1, of falling off the bandwagon, and 2, not seeing results. And obviously getting hurt. Right? So I would say to you, yes, I encourage all forms of movement, but if you want to see results, if you want to stay motivated, if you actually want to progress, you need a session. You need a personal training session that is individualized for you based on your movement screenings and based on your capabilities and abilities, keeping in mind your medical background and your current fitness goals and your lifestyle. That's the way that I would compete. So you can take a class and start moving. However, it's not going to get you the job. It's not going to get the job done. Bottom line, you want to progress, you want to improve, you want to stay motivated, and taking a class isn't the way you're going to get there. I'm not going to discount it, meaning I'm not going to prevent you from going. I will discount it. But I just want to make sure you understand that there's a difference between a session, which is what you're going to get when you come into our facility, versus a class. Does that make sense?
So that they would have to pay beyond the silver seats.
You got it. You got it.
But this is an additional service.
You got it. And as a member of our club, right, you get 2 sessions up front, so we can do this thing with you, right? And then every 4 weeks, we'll stick with you for the life of your membership to make sure you're staying consistent. But you bet your butt, absolutely, right? Silver Sneakers gives people access. Quite frankly, you don't need access. Can't you work out at home? Why do you need to come to a place like this? But I believe people want to come to a place because for 2 reasons. 1, they want to stay motivated and they want to see results. They want customized training.
I'm going to jump into that a little bit because I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and I'm so excited to see Anytime Fitness owners take on this population and say, hey, this is valuable, this is real, this is the next thing. But also, can I answer your question is if you think about Silver Sneakers or free Y passes, are they making any sort of emotional, relational connection with any of those potential clients? They're not, right? I mean, there's not a messaging, there's not a relationship, there's not something that is helping you to understand. They really understand me, they get me, they're gonna take care of me. It's just that here's all the stuff that you can do. And I think that's also kind of another aspect to the whole conversation in marketing, in the lead generation, in the sales process, in the session process, right? People get very quickly that, oh, you get me, you're to take good care of me. They have lots of options.
Yeah,
why do people pay for stuff when they can get it for free? People do it all the time. Free is not.
And I would say to you
better.
this, just to back up what Cody's saying. I would personally give that person 21, 30 days on me. And at the end of it, you make the call on what you want to do.
Okay, so then from what he said, what you guys, the follow-up would be, is anybody going to these insurance companies and saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Can we, would you be willing to supplement this cost?
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
You want to talk about this?
Walking into a YMCA and saying, what do I do now?
Listen, there's 2 projects that Mike Gelfgot and I are working on right now. One is Ageless Fitness and ramping that up, and the other one is exactly what you're talking about. So Kaiser Permanente did a study in 2011, and what they found was if they could get someone, so I'm going to tell you that insurance companies are opening their eyes, right? They found in 2011, they did the study with the YMCAs, if they could get someone to lose 5% of their body weight, we're talking about taking a 200-pound individual and getting them to drop to 190 pounds. If I can get you to lose 5% of your body weight, in the next 5 years, me as an insurance company, I'm going to save $2,700 on claims All right, I'm not even talking about healthy weight. I don't even know how you're doing it. I'm just saying if I can get you to lose 10 pounds for a 200-pound individual. And then they went on to say, in this study, they spent $11 million with the YMCA's doing this study, which really sucks because we could have done it for about half that.
Yep.
Right? And then they went on to say, boy, Stephen was right. It's blinking at us now. They went on to say that if you can get someone to lose 10% of their body weight, so you take a 200-pound individual and you get this person to drop to 180 pounds, for instance, the insurance company will see a $7,500 reduction in claims over the next 5 years, right? So when they start to see this, this is something that they're starting to pay attention to. We're working with a company called Genovix to do insurance reimbursement for a dietetic work, and basically we're throwing in the fitness component of it. And we're running our first trial at one of our clubs right now. We hired a registered dietitian. We're getting credentialed by insurance companies to run it. And the outcomes are really promising. So it's coming, and the insurance companies are waking up. And for guys like us that have been doing this for the last 20 years, it's the way forward. It's definitely happening. So yeah, people are having those conversations with insurance companies.
But it'll take a little bit of time. I mean, it's just getting started, really. But they will recognize, because it's senseless for them to continue to pay out
We
money.
have one more question before we
outcomes.
wrap up. Anything?
No, that's it. Cody's, we're cut off, John.
All right.
Yeah, we're good. All right, thank you,
Fair
guys.
enough.